Here again in Trump Palace at Make America Great Again. Make America Great Again. We seem not to understand on Fox News. So when Preston Pence decides to take the card of the Vice President via Dr. Williamson, or Mike as he's known, and the recommendation to go be a cashier or food preparer, well, a security guard, a library assistant, or a security guard on campus, because it's a career compared to the janitors. That's how a football is supposed to seem. No, you're supposed to be a poor boy. You a Democrat. You in trouble. We need white supremacy, male white power. America Reagan, Trump Palace. You're not supposed to understand that Paul Modritz, Lee Bernstein, George Akermoff, Hale Trotter instead of John Trotter, Larry Susskind, the same offer of the hydrocore where 85% stake and be a janitor, work 8 to 4 in the morning, cleaning the mess hall, and then you get your 2 free classes as a grad student, paid for the rest of your life, for 85% stake, giving you 15% or the same valuation as WeWork. But when Berkeley is supposed to be where you want your master's and your PhD from, because the organizational behavior management program and what is called the Michael Scholar, not how Madden is wondered, you're not supposed to want your PhD program and say multi-phase dimensional research, R sigma gamma prime, p hat rho square, the lambda sine of mu, the cosine of gamma prime, and applications of tau, a tan, and min prime, justify vega lambda rho, or applications of zeta var, application of pi lepton. These type of applications are uranium versus plutonium enrichment, organizational behavioral management, viral epidemiological studies, organizational behavior efficiencies, interorganic bioepidemiology, epidemiological hyper applications, organizational behavioral management programs, the certain WEP program which deals with climate change studies, or risk management and flooding, fire, tornado, #1 program in the world, but you're not supposed to understand that. Dr. Vashush and Dr. Argao, but you're not supposed to want them as thesis advisors, neither the market of lemons, humankind, I call it Let's Sink America, asked for the Brezhnev to shoot missiles on the other side of Mississippi, the 160, and use a Satan II and go to the biggest radioactive spot. America Great Again, Trump support, Hail Hitler being Doosan, Donald Adolf, Joseph, Guggenheim, Gunlick, Lidenbach, Stalin, President Trump being Doosan. White male supremacy. We're supposed to ask the Russian Chinese, they go outside of San Diego, which Brezhnev did, and so show shooting underwater, then popping up for 8 minutes and say shoot the other side of Mississippi. Say support Laura Van Dusen. No phone calls by James Michael apologizing after the invasion. COVID AIDS patients, not important, especially pregnant ones. Human bubonic plague, we have Republican, not important. Don't ask 3 years during it. Pulmonary anthrax, not a big issue. Cesium, vanadium, iodine, dersidium, selenium, vanadium, nenium, nihonium, triethylpentahexauridine, lanthanum, beryllium, boramine, nihonium, triethylhexatensine, selenium pentahexoxyxanthophen, triethylhexatensine, europentahexarubidium, nihonium, triethylpentaboramine, the hexanium nickel sulfate is the zirconium, ytterbium, gallidium, oxourate, and ammonium pentathoracine, or trillium urate samples, living oscomoscolins, and viral meningitis, compared to bubonic plague research. But that's not a dimensional application if you're going to ask hospitals. Oh wait, I'm Anthony Michael Pence and James Michael's brother, and anytime any county has AIDS patients in the ICU unit, we ask through HR 5083, 5062, and SB 901 bills to cut regulatory financing, just like showing where fires are going to be or flooding's going to be. But we're not supposed to talk about that. We, male white supremacists, hail with Republican. And then the best part. Hey, Joe, everybody wondering on Fox News, why Hunter, hey, Hunter, your laptop doesn't explain the relationship with Ian Jobs, Tudor DeBarlo. But more importantly, Zhao Rajin and Zhao Zinlong, and say the Chinese friends with Xi Jinping to how Tom Kerry and Jack May has wondered. But that's not supposed to be understood in the snap with Ian Jobs, you know, let alone the Snapchat group and my friend groups, and say, hey, Congressional Medal recipient, chairman of the Upjohn Foundation, if Lord Van Dusen in his insult to King Mohammed on his deathbed when he called him a we're not supposed to understand that that phone call never made the United States, that Carl Levin and Harry Reid aren't good enough to run for office. Oh, that, I guess Jeb Bush Condoleezza Rice ain't good enough. Susan Collins and Condoleezza. Let alone if we were going to have to replace Nancy. Let's weaponize aid. Sorry, our opposite view. Now, when that's wondered to, hey, John Garabini and your Tabitha Dayton after Kevin got a little domestic with her. Now, John Garabini isn't good enough to run for on both sides of the aisles, the middle of the road. Now, how dare I ask a Revis Walton, yes, the same Walton family, Sam Walton's niece, that Tabitha's ex-penal penetration as a, I don't know, to run for U.S. House of Representatives. But I guess I don't get that right. This is the same person that sat for 6 years on the City Park and Rec Board, 2 years on the County Park and Rec Board, a year on the County Economic Development Block Board, and sat a state commissioner for a week. But you're only supposed to be 149th according to the 38th. But these guys don't understand that in the friend groups. Now, what happens if Jack May, the Anheisers, and you start asking that to the Californians and say, hey, and the view of Ukraine, if the Duchess of Kent and the Romanian Count penetrate, decide to do the MILFing, they allow the Constitution of Russia to go into effect. The Constitution of Russia means that Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, and one more of those little countries all become a territory again under the USSR because of the House of Deutschland, based on World War I. But that's not what your thesis is ever on in Master Public Policy, or in intelligence MS, or political science. But because it's Leslie King, the 38th of the United States, and King Leslie King in Commonwealth Britain, the great American lifestyle doesn't introduce any of his legislation, doesn't tell you a single thing that he ever wrote, doesn't put up his website. His son, Kevin's dad, hasn't been to the library. Kevin hasn't been. The two twins haven't, and the youngest one hasn't. Neither has myself. We can't understand that to the 38th. But no, this isn't Kevin's dad, who was governor, vice president nominee with James B. Thayer in 2000, where James B. Thayer ran for president, and he's the first openly gay vice president nomination. But he's still living. But these aren't our family problems. Why Angus King is only Leslie's family. But we're not supposed to talk about that. We're not supposed to ask that a Revis Walton be good enough. Make America great again, with Republican. White supremacy, white male supremacy. And then ask me why I dated an Austin Jackson Brown or Laura Arnold Powell. And say I don't understand.